Hello and welcome to this video from Heybridge High School Maths Department. This video will give you an introduction to speed, distance and time. So this is the speed, distance, time triangle. You've probably come across this before in your physics lessons. You might have come across it before in mathematics. And this just shows us the relationships between speed, distance and time, and how if we know two of these quantities we can use them to calculate the other. So we're going to put some operators on here. So we're going to have a division sign there and a division sign here, and we'll have a multiplication sign between speed and time. So I can work out from the triangle, so if I don't know speed but I know distance and time, I can do distance divided by time and that will give me speed. If I want to know distance, I need to look for the relationship between speed and time. So I would multiply those together. So I would get distance equals speed times time. And then if I want to know time, I would need to do distance divided by speed. So we can see a little bit more clearly here how we could use the triangle to find speed if we knew what distance and time were. So if you're doing this in a lesson or for homework, you would cover up whichever quantity you're trying to find, probably just with your thumb. Here I've put a little box over so that we can't see speed. The thing that we can't see is the thing that we're trying to calculate. So in this case, the quantity that we're trying to calculate is speed. And if I have a look here, I can see that I've got distance on the top divided by time on the bottom. The reason that we divide distance by time is that speed is a measure of the distance that we go per unit of time. So if we're going, we might be looking at units like meters per second, kilometers per hour, or miles per hour. So by dividing the distance that we've travelled by a certain amount of time, we can find out how far we've travelled in 1 unit of time. And that's why we use that formula to calculate speed. So we're now going to have a look at some simple questions to introduce you to calculating speed. So if we have a look at our first question, a lorry travels 120 miles in 3 hours. So we know from the question our distance is 120 miles and our time is 3 hours. So remember that speed equals distance divided by time, which will be 120 divided by 3, which will give us 40. And then we have a look at our units of distance, which are miles, and our units of time, which are hours. So we've worked out that the speed of that lorry is 40 miles per hour. So for every hour that the lorry is moving, it travels 40 miles. Question 2. A dog runs 216 metres in 12 seconds. So our distance is 216 metres. Our time is 12 seconds. So speed equals distance divided by time equals 216 divided by 12, which will give us 18, and our units are metres and our units of time are seconds, so it will be 18 metres per second. Question 3. A motorcycle travels 36 miles in 40 minutes. So our distance is 36 miles. and our time is 40 minutes. But we wouldn't really want miles per minute. We'd rather have miles per hour. That's the units that we would normally use. So we need to turn 40 minutes into hours. So to turn minutes into hours, we express as a fraction with the number of minutes as the numerator and 60, which is the number of minutes in an hour, as the denominator. And then we simplify down. So 40 minutes is 2/3 of an hour. So speed equals distance divided by time, which will give me 36 divided by 2/3. So I use the keep, change, flip rule for multiplying by a fraction. So I keep the first quantity as it is. I change the division sign to a multiplication, and I flip the fraction that I'm dividing by to give me 3/2. So 36 times 3 is 108. And I'll have 2 on the bottom, and that will give me 54 miles per hour. And question 4. An airplane flies 315 kilometres in 1 hour, 45 minutes. So again, our distance is 315 kilometres. Our time is 1 hour, 45 minutes. So let's change that into a decimal. So 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour, and 3/4 of a decimal is 0.75. And then we've also got our 1 hour. So 1 hour 45 minutes is 1.75 hours. So we can now substitute these values of d and t into our formula. So speed equals distance divided by time, which is 315 divided by 1.75, and that will give us 180 kilometres per hour. Now we're going to have a look at calculating distance. So I've covered distance up with my blue square, and I can see from the triangle that to find distance, I multiply speed by time. And that makes a lot of sense, because say I'm travelling at 40 miles per hour and I travel at that speed for 5 hours. So this is my starting point. So after 1 hour, I'm going to have travelled 40 miles. After 2 hours, I'm going to have travelled 80 miles. And so on until I reach 5 hours, when I'm going to have travelled 5 lots of 40, which would be 200 miles. So let's have a go at some fairly simple questions to get you used to using speed and time to calculate distance. Question 1. A plane flies at a speed of 230 kilometres per hour for 2 hours. So my speed is 230 kilometres per hour. And my time is 2 hours. So distance equals speed multiplied by time, which is 230 multiplied by 2, which will give me 460. And it's a distance, so my speed was in kilometres per hour, so my distance will be in kilometres. So now a taxi travels for 30 minutes at a speed of 28 miles per hour. So my speed is 28 miles per hour. My time is 30 minutes. So these units actually don't tally up, because here I've got miles per hour, but I've got my time given in minutes. So I need to turn my time in minutes into hours. 30 minutes is half an hour. So we can say that that's 0.5 hours. So distance will be speed multiplied by time, which is 28 multiplied by 0.5. When I multiply by 0.5, it's the same as dividing by 2. So the taxi will travel 14 miles. Question 3. A runner runs at a speed of 8 meters per second for 2 minutes. So my speed is 8 meters per second. My time is 2 minutes. And again, I've got this discrepancy between my units. I've got meters per second, but my time's given in 2 minutes. So I'm going to change my time into seconds. So there's 60 seconds in a minute. So I will have 120 seconds in 2 minutes. And now that my units match, I can do my calculation. So distance is speed multiplied by time, which will be 8 multiplied by 120, and that will give me 960 meters. Question 4. A car drives at a speed of 58 miles per hour for 3 hours and 15 minutes. So again, I'm going to write down my speed and my time first. So my speed is 58 miles per hour, and my time is 3 hours and 15 minutes. I know that 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour, so I can write that as 3.25 hours. So distance is speed multiplied by time. So that will be 58 multiplied by 3.25, and that will give me 188.5 miles. And remember that whatever the unit of distance is in your speed, so if it's miles per hour, as here, then your final answer will be in miles. So this distance unit here in your speed will be the same as the unit that your distance is given in. So finally, let's have a look at how we can use distance and speed to calculate time. So again, I've covered up the measure that I want to find with my blue square so that I can see how I can use these other two measures to calculate time. So I can see from my triangle that time is distance divided by speed, which makes sense because say I'm travelling 60 miles and I'm travelling at 10 miles an hour. Every hour I'm going to travel 10 miles. So I need to see how many lots of 10 miles will go into my distance to work out how long it's going to take me to travel those 60 miles. So let's have a look at a few questions where we're given distance and speed and we use these to calculate time. So our first question, a man runs 240 metres at a speed of 6 metres per second. So his distance will be 240 metres and speed will be 6 metres per second. Just check that if your distance is in metres, that your speed is in metres per second, metres per minute, that you've got metres included in your speed. And then we can use time equals distance divided by speed, which will give us 240 divided by 6, and that will give us 40, and it's time, so it will be the unit of time that's included in your speed, so it will be 40 seconds. Do always remember when you're doing speed, distance and time questions to include units with your answers. It's very, very important because you can't just write down 40. It could mean 40 seconds, 40 hours, 40 days. So do make sure that you've got those units in there. So our next question, a bird covers a distance of 95 miles at a speed of 20 miles per hour. So again, let's write down what we know. So we know that the distance is 95 miles. And we know that the speed is 20 miles per hour. So again, time equals distance divided by speed, which is 95 divided by 20. And that will give us 4 3/4 hours. And let's give our answer in hours and minutes. So we're going to have 4 hours, and 3/4 of an hour is 45 minutes. So it will take the bird 4 hours and 45 minutes to cover a distance of 95 miles. Question 3. A lorry driver drives 250 miles at a speed of 50 miles per hour. So the distance will be 250 miles and the speed will be 50 miles per hour. So again, time equals distance divided by speed, which is 250 divided by 50, which will give us 5 hours. And the final question, a car travels at 50 miles per hour and covers a distance of 110 miles. So our distance is 110 miles and our speed is 50 miles per hour. So time equals distance divided by speed, which is 110 over 50, which will give us 11 over 5 hours, which is 2 1/5 hours. And then again, let's turn that into hours and minutes. So we'll have 2 hours and 1/5 of an hour. Well, 60 minutes divided by 5 will give me 12 minutes. So the answer is 2 hours and 12 minutes. Thank you for watching.